Welcome to the Luke and Shavonne show.
Chatting about life.
All right, hey, it's a great time of the year. It's the NBA Finals, the NHL Finals, the start of baseball season. Go Detroit Tigers! And it's also graduation season. And this is a great time of year. Years back, they used to always have a graduation song that was always very nostalgic, very sentimental. I used to love that every year.
Mm,
I don't know if they do that anymore, but Siobhan, you just recently went to a graduation party. Tell us a little bit about that.
I had a few graduations. I'm excited. I'm very nostalgic. It puts me in my fields when I see high school or college graduations and even some, little kid graduations. But I recently went to a birthday party for I call her my pseudo niece. She graduated from high school, and then my cousin, both of my cousins, one graduated from high school and the other one, she got her PhD in chemistry. So I just love to see young people doing great things with their life. So it's encouraging, and I'm so excited for the future and the graduations and what is it, the pomps and circumstance. Dun, 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 dun. That's the graduation song. So I love it.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. Man, it feels like a lifetime ago when I graduated high school, and I was one of those students
Me
who did
too.
not have a plan at all. I basically graduated. I was very fortunate. My best friend's dad gave me a job in with his construction company, and
Oh,
like I
wow.
said, I had no goals, no plans, so I just started working with him. No experience, and what I found out quickly was his crew didn't really have the patience to teach me much either. So
Wow.
eventually, my best friend's dad, fired me, which ended up, kind of being a little bit depressing, but it also was the kind of the kick in the pants I needed in life. So I often thank him for doing such a thing. Um, at the time, I thought, hey, maybe carpentry isn't my thing, but I've done projects since then, and I think I'm teachable. I just think that I maybe wasn't with the kind of people that wanted to mentor and teach me things. But years later, I still kind of mess around with some stuff, and I hope to get better at carpentry. But when he fired me, um, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. I started delivering pizza, believe it or not, and
Oh,
it paid
wow.
more than
Okay.
yeah, yeah, it paid more than twice what I was making carpentry, and it was such a fun job. I enjoyed doing it. So I tried out community college. I had the greatest professor. You would have loved her. Her name was Dr. Taylor. Still remember her name to this day. Um, she was a strong African American woman, and she would start off every day saying, "Good morning, future leaders." And I don't know why I never thought of myself as a leader; just thought of myself as a participant in life, just kind of rolling through, just experiencing things or whatever. Like I said, no goals, no plans. But she was so good, so encouraging that I actually thought about becoming a teacher just from her class.
Wow,
So I
that's
finished.
wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. I finished community college. I paid for it all cash by delivering pizza, and I decided I needed
Really?
additional. Exactly, yeah. No debt the first 2 years
Wow, that's
of college.
cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a really fun time. I still hung out with my high school friends, and I had kind of a non-serious job, but my boss loved me, so I was very flexible, and I enjoyed my classes, and I did well. It was the first time I was really like doing well academically in life. I made the dean's list, and my family was like, "Who are you?" Because I was such a slacker in high school, and because I was paying for it with my own money, I was suddenly serious about it.
Right, and
So
that's funny that you say that. They're like, who's this person with good grades going to
yeah,
community college? Because you weren't like that in high school. You were
no,
you
no,
were shocking folks left and right.
yeah, yeah. I just kind of goofed around, but I took pride in it, and I consider myself like capable for the first time ever to actually learn and do different things. What I always wanted to do in high school, my cousin was a Detroit firefighter,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
so I
Nice.
wanted to do that, and I also always wanted to join the Coast Guard. So I always had
Oh,
like military plans too. So this what takes me really to the next part of my story here is as soon as I graduated from community college, I thought, okay, I need some money for university. You know, I can't bankroll this delivering pizzas, so I joined the Army National Guard, and then literally, let's see, I joined in. I can't remember when I actually signed, but 9/11 was shortly after that, so that was like a
Oh,
major
okay.
turning point because my reasoning for military service changed, and I went through basic training with a lot of people that joined just because of 9/11. So that really changed my trajectory. I joined the National Guard, got out through basic training, AIT, still went into teaching, taught at the middle school, moved to Colorado, got a job at North Middle School, great place.
Oh, okay.
Um, but then I deployed to support Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then I decided, hey, I think I'm going to do this active duty thing. And that's when I met you, went to UCCS and joined the military, joined active duty, got my master's degree, commissioned, and really that's what got me into the military. So I could speak with where we're going with this discussion. I could speak on trades, college, and the military. So
Right,
I'm
right,
going to
right,
offer
right.
some of those insights to you. But what was it like for you on your graduation day?
I was very excited. I still remember my family is small, but I remember
Mm-hmm.
my grandmother and my uncle being there, my mom, my sister, my dad, of course, um, and it was wonderful. I will never forget May 28th, 1993. That's when you kind of, your life begins, but there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of unknowns because Tutu, you don't know what you really wanted to do. I wanted to go to college, like a 4-year university, and I did, but it took a back seat for a little bit. Like you, I did go to community college, so I went to the community college and I worked. Just like you, I worked at Safeway. At
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I was going to community college, and then the following year, I did go to the University of Northern Colorado, UNC. That's when I met all my college girlfriends, and we just had a good time and being in the dorm
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But I really didn't have a trajectory of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a neonatal nurse because at that time, crack and AIDS babies were, being
Mm-hmm.
born into this society, and I really wanted to work with them. So I didn't have a game plan.
Yeah.
And nobody talked to me about financial aid or taking out school loans like you. I paid for community college myself because it's affordable. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
thank God. And then I went to UNC and took out some student loans. And unlike you, I partied a little too
Well, I did
hard.
that too. I did that too.
I partied quite a bit in college and then, had to come home for a year and then I went back up to UNC, but didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Still, you're in your late teens, early 20s, and it's like, oh, well, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? And you don't think about
Yeah.
it because you think about the here and now. You don't think about the future. You're very much in the
Mm-hmm.
present. So I didn't have, and it's unfortunate, but I didn't have a game plan at all. I didn't know what I wanted to go into, what I wanted to do, how I was going to make money. I just knew that, like you, I had to work, and I
Yeah.
worked
Mm-hmm.
retail and all these different jobs. But I worked and I went to school part time, and then that changed as you get into your early mid 20s. Life takes a turn. It doesn't go the way that you want it to go. So I was kind of like, I don't know what I want to do or where I want to go. So I was definitely kind of up in the clouds and didn't have a clear pathway to what I wanted to do in life. It's kind of
Yeah.
scary if you think about it, but that's crazy to ask a kid, what do you want to go to
Mm-hmm.
school for and what you want to become, because they're so young and their frontal lobe hasn't developed, so they still haven't, they still have a lot of growing to do. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just, went to school, partied, definitely got kicked out, and it was like, because your grades aren't high enough, you're on probation. Then I went back to community college, I think I got my associates in TV and radio, but it wasn't until I was in my mid 20s. So
Yeah.
I was kind of Like a lot of kids kind of didn't have a game plan and didn't know what to do and where to go
Yeah.
and what to do, and that's kind of scary. But I'm
Mhm.
encouraged by what I saw at these graduations. I was a little nervous about our future, Luke. I was, but I'm not now because these kids now are doing extraordinary things, and I
Yeah.
am happy to see what they become.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're gonna dive into some of that because
Yes,
there's some mixed surveys that I saw, but we're gonna break our talk here into a couple
yes,
different episodes because it's such a big topic, and
huge.
yeah, I actually dabbled with construction a couple different times during the summers. I would go back and do some carpentry, and some of those
Yes,
old
yes.
carpenters would tell me they're like, "Don't do this. Just get out and go to college." And that was the advice we got. We were told a
Yes.
lot, like go to school, like don't go to college. And now like things are starting to change. We're hearing a different message. I get why those guys told me that. Their bodies were beat down. They couldn't move. You know, they're like in their 40s, and just their knees, their back, everything was killing them. So they probably thought they were giving me good advice. But both my brothers are union carpenters, and what
Okay.
these guys could do with their hands, they could buy any kind of house and just make it look immaculate. So in a lot
And
of ways,
that's
I'm
great.
jealous. I'm like, was that good advice? Like these guys are so self reliant.
Well, yeah, and
So
that's the caveat, a blue collar job versus a white collar job. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
what is the pros and cons of each?
Yep. So yeah, we'll talk about the trades, what that looks like, military service, and what a university education looks like. But the
Yeah.
first thing you and I are going to discuss are the trade schools, the trade opportunities.
Yes.
But before we get into that, let's take a look at this news clip here, and we'll get back to our discussion.
High school students graduating with $70,000 a year job offers. And Channel 2's Lori Wilson reports they're skipping college and learning trades in school.
Marcos Tigreros is still weeks away from graduating high school, but the 18-year-old has already got a plan for the future.
I just got a job at a company called Tech International, and they make nuclear containers.
Tigreros is one of 24 students in the welding program at Father Judge High School in Philadelphia, all graduating with job offers.
In these type of blue collar jobs, all these jobs can generate six figures at a very young age with no college debt.
I wasn't the best studier, so it was hard for me to get good grades, and I didn't know how the college where I was going to go for me. But when I saw the welding program, I saw an opportunity to be successful like other college students without needing that degree.
With 1 in 4 adults in the U.S. owing student debt from college, trade programs are offering an alternative, giving teens hands-on training outside of traditional classrooms.
You don't hear kids waking up saying, I want to be a longshoreman. I want to be an electrician. I want to be a welder. There's definitely a shortage in people going into the trades. So that makes the demand and the pay skyrocket for us.
It feels nice to know like that I'm wanted and that there's like a role for me to fill, that I have a unique set of skills people want and looking for.
Lori Wilson, Channel 2 Action News.
All right, welcome back, and that is such a good, encouraging clip. Thank you for sharing that with us, Shavonne.
Definitely. Definitely.
Mhm. So we talked a little bit about some of the research we found, and the first thing we both kind of identified is the shortages of trades here in America. So I found that there's definitely a hiring crunch for carpenters, electricians, welders, and and plumbers. And there's a lot of discussion. This was from McKinsey and Company, an article that they put out. They're trying to figure out how to close this gap because they've seen this labor scarcity basically grow since COVID-19. And they expect there's going to be a kind of an intense competition for talent. And this should positively impact wages. We expect to see wages increase by 20%. Um, but yeah, these are, let's see, so they go on to say welders, construction, laborers, electricians, and other skilled category roles. they think hiring in the next 10 years will increase 20 times. Did you find something kind of
Yeah,
similar to that?
kind of what I found it was with Forbes, and it says that blue collar workers are in demand, and why you should consider blue collar jobs. More than a third, which is 32% of the fastest growing jobs, are blue collar, and with 1.7 million new jobs expected between now 2025 and 2032, so that's 7 years. They look to increase 1.7 million jobs in the blue collar sector. And then it also says, and it's something that, they discuss, I'm sure, when you go to trade school, that the
Mm.
union worker salaries have seen a 6.3 increase within the past year. So these blue collar jobs are in high demand, and we're going to need them because everybody can't be an accountant. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. So, like you said earlier, they are taxing on the body. There's so many jobs that are blue collar jobs that we don't think are blue collar jobs, but
Hmm.
it seems as if in the near future, because 7 years and even now is very, very close, that we're going to need more blue collar workers in the work
Hmm.
environment than we need white collar workers. And it's
Yeah.
because you got to think, if something goes wrong with your water or your sewage or anything of that nature, you need a plumber. If something goes wrong with your electricity, you're going to need an electrician.
Hmm.
HVAC, your AC or your heating. So a lot of these blue collar jobs are going to be needed more than we think in the coming future.
Yeah. Another thing to kind of consider with that, this same article, McKinsey and Company found
Hmm.
that the non-working age ratio is going to increase by 75% all the way out to 2027. And what they think is we'll start seeing 3.5 non-workers for every 10 workers, whereas right now I think it's around 2. And we're seeing something similar to this in China. We're seeing a decrease of working age people. So there's like very old people, very young people, and the shrinking group is the people that are in between that are basically funding all the entitlements. So that makes it rather difficult. Who's going to
Right.
pay for the Social Security if there's less more non-working
Workers.
people, less
Hmm.
workers? Yeah, so uh, that causes us to look at some of these labor shortages and where we can boost hiring and how we
Right.
can attract people.
And that's the thing, it's not, college is not for everybody. And I have seen that, it took me a little while to kind of get in the groove of things, but you have to have a skill set or a trade when you get
Mhm.
out of school, because you can't just, mommy and daddy don't want to keep helping you. You're going to have to do something. So to get a trade, whether
Mhm.
whatever it is very, very important, because like you said, those people are starting to retire.
Yeah.
You can't, when you're in your, early 60s, your social security is coming up. You don't want to keep doing that. And yes, these blue collar jobs are taxing on the body, but
Mhm.
they do reap huge benefits. But
Yeah.
you've got to keep that in mind. Just think of it, Luke. If you had a trade skill and then also had a degree as well, whew.
Mhm.
And what I've
Yeah.
noticed about these trade schools is that, it goes anywhere from 4 months to 2 years. Now, with
Yeah.
plumbing, they do have like an apprenticeship, which can last up to 4 to 5 years. But most of
Yeah.
these trade jobs, you do have to have some type of education, as far as maybe associate's degree or certificate. And, it could be, like I said, 4 months to 2 years, and you have certification in a job skill that is going to
Yeah.
benefit you in the long run.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's one of the appealing things. Yeah, is the training is so short. So we have to discuss the Gen Zers in with this topic. So
of
I
course,
found
they're our
mixed
future.
surveys. Yeah, I found mixed surveys on their views on trade. So in this McKinsey article, they said an overwhelming 79% of respondents said their parents wanted them to pursue college education after high school, while only 5% encourage vocational school, which I think is a bit ridiculous. I'm totally going to encourage. Well, I always tell my kids, do what you love as long as it's legal. I'll support it. But once you have a family, do something with some security before you have kids. That's when you pursue your passion as an artist or musician or whatever. But once you have wife, kids, do something that'll pay the bills, kind of thing. That's my message to my kids. So I don't know who these parents are, but
Well,
they want their kids to pursue the college path.
and when I was looking at the research, it was saying that trade schools are also known as vocational or technical schools. They
Mhm.
offer practical training and education in specific trades, preparing students for skilled careers. They focus on hands on learning and
Mhm.
career-focused programs, often shorter than traditional four-year schools. Common examples of trade schools include automotive, cosmetology, culinary, healthcare, construction,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, there's so many avenues to pursue with trade schools that I think
Yeah,
there's a gauntlet of things that they can do that don't require a four-year degree. Automotive,
yeah.
cosmetology.
And you're not saddled with all the debt that universities
Exactly.
typically.
Right. They're not,
So in
you don't have
this,
exorbitant fees.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why these parents aren't thinking about that. But in this same article, so this article, there's two different surveys I read just to give you an idea. Never
Okay.
100% trust a survey because they're not
Right.
absolute truth.
Exactly. I
But
get you. I feel you.
in this same article, they said that Gen Zers do not want to pursue trades because they like work flexibility, kind of work on your own, work from home, like basically not the typical you go in, you work 8 9 hours a day, you go home. They don't like that. They don't like being saddled with that. According to this article, yeah. So do you have something on that?
No, I was gonna say it makes sense. Gen Z
Yeah.
is different. I'm sure
Yep.
your kids are Gen Z. The way that
Mhm.
they think about like vacation and having work home balance is a lot different from say our generation where it's like work, and then you'll reap
Yeah.
the benefits when you're older. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanna I wanna enjoy my life now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
There's something to be said about that. But the reason why I said do not trust surveys, I also dug
okay.
into one of my heroes is Mike Rowe, the Dirty Jobs host. Love that guy.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does a great podcast too. Um,
Okay.
he had a totally different survey
Outlook.
apparently that he
Oh,
referenced quite a bit. So he claims that the Gen Zers that he surveyed in his article, like trade jobs, they've become, this is the first time I heard of this word, Instagrammable. 60% of them, the 60% of the Gen Zers he surveyed throw their training up on Instagram, and they love getting the feedback, the reactions to whatever they built, whatever they fixed, whatever they love that. It's become Instagrammable, according to this micro article.
because they're monetizing. That's right. There are so many, like you said, trade jobs where people put them on Instagram or TikTok, and
Mhm.
depending on how many quote unquote views they get, it becomes monetized for them.
I did more carpentry for another small construction company in
Hmm.
Warren, actually near 8 Mile Road where Eminem lived.
In
But we would
Michigan.
do, yeah, we would do rough carpentry in this neighborhood there. And I remember all I did was like hang a window with my friend, and we were both just two 21-year-olds that partied, like you were saying. And we just hung these beautiful windows, and I remember the satisfaction I felt. I'm like, I can't believe that. This family will now have windows to look out of. So you do something. Now, don't get me wrong, I had my share of accidents where I cost companies money, wrecking drywall
Right.
and whatnot. That's kind of why my first boss let me go. But,
He's like, oh, so
but
you gotta go.
yeah, but for a particularly a young male trying to find themselves, if they build something and it looks good, I can't even describe the kind of pride that comes. So I can see why they'd want to throw this on social media and show it off a little bit. Just be like, hey, this is what I did, and have
Oh,
that
the
pride.
grind. That
Yeah,
grind. And it's not,
yeah.
it shows, like you said, the guy that was doing the mowing, construction. I guess there's like welders. That's a huge thing too in
Mm.
trade school. The welders are coming up and they're making a lot of money. Women that are doing it, and small
Mm-hmm.
framed women who are driving these 18 wheelers. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's different because we always had, unfortunately, the stereotype that they're older guys,
Yeah.
driving these 18 wheelers. And here you have these cute petite women driving an 18 wheeler and they're able to check this and check that. So
Yeah.
it is different now. It is a different world of working.
Yeah. So in Mike Grove's article, he also expands on the social media. He said the number of trade related posts on TikTok and Instagram surged 52% between 2023 to 2024. So yeah, it's becoming. It sounds like, according to Mike Grove, it's becoming more of a fad. Um, and he says 77% of Gen Zers say that they've seen more attention being paid to skilled trades recently. So it's becoming kind of cooler in their world, according to Mike Rowe, who does have a foundation where he gives out scholarships to trade. I listened to some
Okay.
of the stories. Like there was a female young lady that he gave a scholarship to. I remember listening to this podcast, who repaired race cars, and she landed a really good job, like right away, right at when she finished her training from this scholarship that she got, and it just sounded like a great job that she had.
Well,
So.
yeah, because Google was saying that you get with these what he was doing for that young lady, you get certificates, there's diploma programs,
Mm,
associate's degrees, and there's apprenticeship when you're going to trade school. So even Google says that's a good thing to help these
yeah.
young people start to get things, get into these
Hmm.
programs because, it could take a few months or, 2 years or so, but it helps them to get those skills and those trades that they need in order to do that, because now there's more women that are getting into automotive,
Mm,
to help other women say, hey, this isn't right. They're overcharging you, yada, yada, yada. So
yeah.
I think that's wonderful. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
heard about this recent story about this young man. He graduated, it was here in Georgia. He
Hmm.
graduated and he works at Burger King. It was just on the news this weekend. And or this week, excuse me. He went to his job, just, normal things, and he saw that his coworkers were kind of falling behind, and so he jumps in line with all his regalia on except for his cap and his gown, and he's helping his coworkers off the clock, trying to move the food faster at this Burger King. And a lady, starts recording, and she starts a what is it, a crowd, GoFundMe, whatever. So he has
Hmm.
250,000 plus. And what I thought was wonderful, he's like, now I can go to trade school to become a mechanic.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah.
I think the tide has kind of shifted a little bit, and like the I guess like a little short that we saw earlier with trade schools. I think a lot of younger people, kind of like you were saying, are getting into trade, getting that skill, but then they might go back and, for another 2 years or so, get that degree so they have something to fall back on as well as the trade school. So it's kind of a win-win situation if you look at it.
Yeah. All right. We can't close out without talking about money. So, do you want me to kind of read off what I found as far as the salaries go for some of these trade jobs?
Yes, because
Okay.
I found some good salaries too.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, tell me if you found something different. So the first one Mike Rowe cited was a cable technician and an aircraft mechanic. They can earn an average salary of 70,000 to 82,000. Actually, I'm sorry. This is according to Indeed. So not too bad
Oh,
if you're
good.
like a
Okay.
20-year-old. Yeah. And then this is again according to Indeed. Most plumber salaries, they range from 56,000, not bad for a young person, to 94,000.
Yes.
Electricians, 39,000 to 106,000. Carpenters, 56,000 to 100,000. The source is AI and Indeed. I will say this, not to embarrass my brothers. I think they make more than that, though. I think when you become foreman and when you really expand the journeyman career path, you make well into the six figures.
Oh,
Um,
right, because they have the experience.
yep, exactly, exactly. Did you find anything different?
So, I was just befuddled when I found out that an X-ray technician, I think it only
Mm-hmm.
takes 2 years. They anywhere from 91,000 annually, which is $44 an hour, and it says they're in the 75th percentile salary. Now, that's not even a radiologist like a doctor. This is just a technician, the person who, clicks, okay, they're like, be still, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
$91,000 annually. And then I also found what was crazy to me is a surgical technician, the people who clean the instruments for when you have a surgery.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
starting minimum is 50,000.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's
Dang.
and like it says, they can start that beginning 4 months to 2 years. So I'm thinking the longer you probably get yourself educated and get an associate's degree is cleaner,
Hmm.
but super important
You
job,
don't
but
want
it doesn't
dirty
require
instruments working
you.
on you. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't require you to be like a nurse or a doctor. Things that we don't think about, they're actually starting to pay off. But, like you said, and like I did, we paid for community college, which was a lot cheaper than a university. So a lot of these kids don't have to take out student loans. So they come out being, on the high end as far as they're not having to pay student loans and they're getting good
Yeah.
salaries. I mean, these are good salaries, Luke.
Yeah.
Starting out,
Yeah.
and these are just starting salaries that you're speaking of, right?
That was the range. The range. But yeah, the
Okay.
lower. Yeah. 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 Not too
I
bad. I
mean,
mean, I would have been
not to
very
have a
happy with
college
that.
degree,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. I agree.
That
All
makes me
right.
second guess going into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still open to doing a trade. If when I retire from the army, if I could do some kind of training, I will definitely consider that. But so we should probably start wrapping up. So our next episode, we're going to take a look at university education, what degrees will pay, what will probably not pay, and
Right.
um, and then we'll also discuss military service. I have a lot to say about that.
And there
Mostly
you do.
good. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. Until then, I will see you later.
Yes, and I will see you later. So stay tuned, chatting about life, Siobhan and Luke, or Luke and Siobhan, whatever.
All right. Stay tuned. Looking forward to it.